We all have a story to tell. Some are just beginning, others have been unfolding for years. Welcome to the Shaman Stories podcast. Each week, I sit down with guests to explore their journeys into spirit, the challenges, awakenings, and the moments that shaped who they are today. So take a breath, settle in, and join me as we uncover the stories that lead us back to our true selves. All right, welcome everybody to the Shaman Stories podcast. Today's guest is Natalie Viglion. She serves as a guide of ancient wisdom and healing, embodying the role of a vibrational medicine guide. She brings together her crafts as a certified flower essence alchemist, certified root cause protocol consultant, master herbalist, and is training in homeopathy. Welcome to the show, Natalie.
Thank you, Jeremy. Nice to be on.
So I guess with that intro, was there anything I missed that maybe you're doing now that wasn't in the bio or anything?
No, that covers it. Nope, that's
Okay.
all the things. It's a lot of things.
So I guess with that, what do you do? I guess what is your standard practice today? How do you work with clients today? And then we'll kind of go back in time and see how you got there.
Yeah. Well, this framework was really born through my own quest for harmony within my body. And I would go to more, I don't know, how do you even say this, but more traditional natural pathways, where it's an herb for this symptom kind of a situation, which to me is sort of exactly like what a mainstream pathway looks like, is this for that. But that's not really how our bodies work. And it's not really working from my perspective with the whole harmonic way that our bodies do come into balance and come into a more harmonic state of being overall, with our nervous system really anchored and grounded in, pure, as much purity as we could possibly gain in this current situation called this world. So it was really seeing the body on all layers and all levels, meaning vibrationally speaking, that's why my list of all the things that I've undergone as far as studies is so vast, because it really required me to see that, the energetic layers of our bodies are different than the physical, matter form aspect, yet this form aspect is also different. And it's just different vibrations that require different approaches. And that's where I really dig into today, is seeing how do we work in a way that actually brings all those layers and levels into focus first, before we even start going into these symptomatic kinds of ways of addressing what's going on. Because what I learned through all of these studies, and the master herbalism is this, I started these studies with Dr. Terry Woolard years ago, and it will take this entire time of life to ever say that I can master. I don't think there is mastery. There's no such thing. But the degree program is master herbalism. But, the mastery part, it's too vast to ever even say that, because it's just like each layer that's met, I just keep, digging in, going, wow, I didn't see this before, and now I see this. So it's just this constant unveiling and unfurling of these truths that have been marred over so much time and over so much, ancient wisdom being A, forgotten, but B, also many things hidden on purpose.
And I guess with that, with the energetic layers, how many layers are, I guess, common per person, or is it kind of individualized? I mean, I've heard some people say there's 7 layers to it, there's 12 layers, I've heard different things.
Yes. So everyone has this. So even, and this even goes for animals. Everyone has this. Every being, I should say,
Hmm.
has multidimensional layers to them. So if we were to look at the human body, if we could see what we could really, if we could see what we really are, it would be like an acid trip, every day, every second of every day, or combine a bunch of things and, it would just be crazy, right? So there's the physical body, of course, but then when we extend out, we have the etheric body, which is just this layer. It's kind of like our body double, if we will. That is the matrix or the scaffolding that kind of holds the physical body in place. It's built on that scaffolding. And this is that layer that brings in the life force. So the chi, the prana, it's called something different.
Hmm.
Every shamanic culture has a different name for this same concept. So, you know, forgetting the word, it's more about that vitality, that life force that flows in. And that's the bridge between the earth, as we're held and cradled in the earth, and then to all things physical and non-physical as well. And then we have the emotional body. Now, the emotional body is literally where this is where the flower essences come in. It's called the astral body too. There's different names for
Hmm.
this as well. So I'm just kind of doing more of the generic, but that's where any unprocessed emotions actually live. And so this is why joy, sorrow, anger, blah, 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 can get kind of stagnant in that layer. And when that gets stagnant, that over time, that actually can start to kind of move into organ, into tissue. So that's why, again, this layered approach is so powerful. And then when you come out from there, so we have the astral body, and then you have the etheric template, if we will. That's also called like a causal body. And then we have another layer, which is the light body, and then the etheric body. So it's kind of these layers that extend out, and each layer, if we will, is it gets higher in frequency or tone.
Hmm.
So the vibrations are different, and then our physical body. So as we come into the physical, it's like everything is slowing down so we can actually be seen in form. So that's a general overview anyway. Of
Okay.
course, there's like a billion layers to it,
Right.
but but those are the layers that can actually be seen with specific like photography and things like that, the Kirlian photography, that field around around us and all things.
And so when you're accessing these different layers, are you mainly just using the flower essence and different herbs to do each layer, or is there other ways that you access? So I guess as an example, with my work, with the shamanic work, when I'm
Hmm.
clearing out stuff from someone's energetic layers, basically, I
Hmm.
access through the chakras. That's
Hmm.
kind of like my focus point to be able to see where the imprints are, the blockages. I kind
Hmm.
of just start with the chakras first and then work my way out, where
Hmm.
needed. And
Hmm.
so that's kind of what I'm curious about is how do you access that? Is it really just through the essence of the flowers? Are you using like sound vibrational tools or things like that?
Yeah. So I bring more of this focus in from the inside out,
Okay.
if we will, and sometimes the outside in, depending. Everyone sort of starts in a different place,
Yeah.
as you know, right? And then yeah, we have all the highways and all the stargates in our body. I say stargates versus chakras. So same concept, right? So we have
Mhm.
all those layers in there. But what I've discerned over all of these studies and my own quest to become more balanced in my being is that when we have a depleted field within us, so meaning the minerals in our body are depleted, which today that is absolutely the case for every body
Yeah.
on this planet. And when that happens, that's like the wiring in our body. And when there's no electrical current being able to, snap all over our body, enzymatic processes start to turn off. And that's where we start to see the slowing down. That's when things start to, kind of, okay, we're not doing so well here. Symptoms start rising, these kinds of different layered aspects. So I'm thinking more so towards, okay, how do we bring coherent water? How do we bring minerals into the body? Get the body in a little bit of a stronger place so that then we can start thinking about, okay, well, now how do we purify? Because when we start to purify the inside of our body, this actually does a ripple effect outwards. So it can actually help us clear, even see emotions that maybe we never saw before, or receive more insight from our stream of consciousness that we uniquely carry, the stream of consciousness with the divine, however somebody would, put that into their words, start to vibrate differently. And so that then you can start clearing things out. Then at the same time, the flower essence component that starts to work on this astral layer. And so while we're doing some strengthening and purifying on the inside, we've got the cleansing. I kind of look at the astral layer as dusting off old shelves around us that are carrying, it's like we think we dealt with something, like something traumatic happened in our life, and we thought we did all these things. But what I find is that thing, maybe we dealt with it on a mind level, consciousness level, if you will, but we didn't really see it in its full capacity. So there's still dust there. So flower essences bring the wisdom of the flower, each uniquely carrying their own codes, to whisper to us like, hey, you don't need this anymore. It's cool. You can okay, this is over here. Let's get, and those custom formulas are really brilliant because now you're really starting to work with your specific things, your specific dust. And then once the body's a little stronger, we're clearing out, we're dusting off this emotional shelf, then what can be done is that's when homeopathy and that's when herbal remedies can become more powerful, because you're more anchored in your mineral scaffolding, your wiring within your body, so things can anchor. Because that's what I learned, very difficult process of learning, of course, is we can take all these amazing remedies that kind of work on that. So homeopathy works on the physical and the etheric layers, and herbs, while of course they bring an energy and a spirit, they work in the physical. And so to work in the physical, if we don't have minerals, if we don't have some purification that has taken place, things just don't anchor well. And so doing a little work before bringing in those kinds of things is really powerful, because again, it's not really that this herb does this for this symptom. It's more so energetically speaking, like not energy, but more like how, like the terrain in your body is different than anybody else's body. So what is your terrain specifically needing? So that's where custom formulas for herbal blends and such, and even custom homeopathy, protocols and things like that are really powerful, because now you're beginning to look at your own terrain, like how each organ system is actually portraying in the now time. And how can we bring more balance? It's literally like thinking about, this is the beauty of all of this, is looking at the earth and seeing how we have desert, we have really wet forest regions, like we're in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains here. And it is literally like a rainforest. And we didn't really know, when you don't know that, it's like, okay, you treat that a little differently. The ground is always wet. So you have this really moist areas, you have really dry areas. So that happens in our bodies. So all the elemental kinds of conversations around earth, wind, fire, etc., those are states of being, more so than actually working with the physical, like water, for example, or fire. It's states of being and what it does to this earth and in our own bodies.
No, I agree with that. And I like that too, because it's, especially here in the West, we've gotten, I guess, just too fixated on the idea that all of our problems, excuse me, all of our problems can be solved through the mind layer, right? Go see a
Yeah,
psychologist, take some
exactly.
pills. We're now slowly starting to see, that what the body keeps the score, that, sometimes trauma sticks in the body. That's why we might gain weight or have other complications with disease.
Hmm.
But there's also that third layer, like you said, it's the spirit layer. And a lot of people
Yeah,
want to confuse that with religion. And it's like, no, no, we're not talking about religion. We're talking about the energetics.
right.
Religion could play a part of that, but
Sure.
it doesn't necessarily mean you need to go to church to clear the spirit level or the energetic level, just like you don't need to become a shaman or a Reiki master to do the same thing. There's other approaches for that.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
what you're saying too with the minerals is, that's the foundation, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have the right foundation, all these tinctures and flower essence, they might not be absorbed correctly within the body because you're already depleted in certain areas where it's just not working. And
Yeah.
I've seen that a lot with folks where even with medication, they're taking regular standard medication, but they're deficient in iron or vitamin D, and whatever medication they're taking isn't working properly, and they have to keep upping the dose to try to keep that level. And it just
Yeah.
doesn't work without the right foundation.
Totally. And that was a really hard one for me, to be honest, because I had spent years in all the other layers. And I really didn't know about how synthetics are travesties
Hmm.
in our body. And this goes for the supplement industry as well. Meaning the vitamin D's, these synthetic forms of B. All I did not know, like how much damage it was doing in the body, how toxic these things are. When I saw that through my education with RCP Institute, I know. I mean, it's like, but I had known years before because I started working on that. But then when I did the training, which was really in depth, and I remember my like it was like you stop. It's one of those moments in your life you go, oh my god, like oh like seriously this, because you realize how much truth has been poured over. And, to get into that, it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And then when you see it, you realize, oh my God, like how much I didn't even know how much damage I was doing to myself by thinking I was doing something healthy,
Yep.
and realizing, oh man, that is nope, no on that. And then what I started to see is that this is replicated, literally mirrored perfectly in and animal bodies. So, especially our dogs and cats, fur babies. And when I saw that layer, that was when I pretty much fell off my chair and just kind of laid there for a while. And then you kind of have to dust that all off because then you have to get into the emotions of letting go of that grief of what has happened to be able to say, well, you know what? All these truth seekers, all these breath-born lineages, as I say, which is all the shamanic cultures all over the world, are one in this breath of knowing and remembering what true truth looks like when it comes to bodies, this
Mhm.
earth, source, divine. I don't know, say whatever. I say source, and connecting that all together into this one framework, and it really begins to paint not only a more beautiful picture, a non-siloed picture, but a realistic perspective on how everything actually works together, like literally on every layer and every level. And that's profound,
Yeah.
really profound.
And it's a hard thing to address too, right? Because we want to put our trust out there in people who went to school for 20 years, and it's, oh, well, these people know better. And I'm not saying all doctors are wrong, but that's just the way they're taught. And a
Very
lot of the stuff,
indoctrination
yeah, and
style,
it's
yeah.
it's not designed to try to cure, it's designed to block symptoms. That's where we're at
Exactly.
now. It's take this pill so you no longer feel this pain, but
Exactly.
we're not
Or
going to
feel in
address,
general,
yeah,
right?
we're not
Yeah.
going to address the real problem.
Yeah.
Go talk to the psychiatrist, which again might be good for some people, but if there's another layer to it, you really have to access, again, mind, body, spirit. You have to get
Exactly.
all three levels in order to fully come out of it. And that takes work that a lot of
Does.
people either feel they don't have time, money, or energy to do.
Exactly. Which is a construct, isn't it? It's a
Yep.
construct of this said exact world. It's more, as I've come into this more fuller knowing of seeing all those levels of being in the underworld for a very long time, seeing what's really happening, like what's really going on, realizing that, it's like if there's this bright, bright, beautiful light, and that bright, beautiful light purifies everything in its path, and everything in its path is pure love. Then what happens when you start to separate from that said light? And so the more you separate, the more siloed, the more in the darkness, meaning aloneness, that isolation, that dissonant feeling comes into play. And so I realize now the way I've seen it is like this rose, if we will. And, as that rose has gotten, as it's bloomed and it's so large and so big, these outer edges are so, there's not getting the light anymore. And so it's created, again, this very marred version of what our reality it looks like. When in reality, that isn't the reality. That is a false view of what the real organic reality was always supposed to be, and what it actually feels like in our bodies and in this earth and in nature and in our animals, and how beautiful that actually is and what that actually feels like. Like, what does that pure love actually feel like? So it's kind of created this situation where I used to be really angry
Mhm.
about how could this be hidden, that warrior energy, to more of that soft invitation to realize it's more of grief actually that I'm feeling, because it's about this dissonance and those that are living in that dissonance, in dogma, and how rigid this world has become to not be movable.
Yeah.
So what happens when it becomes movable? Things change, so yeah, it's been a beautiful process to unfold that knowing within me, because it isn't rigid even within me anymore.
Yeah. And it's a challenge because I see it all the time where it's, people, if you accept that all these things are the way they are, then it becomes that, well, I've been wrong my entire life. Am I to blame for what else has been going on versus, okay, it just is what it is, right? We were all told these things. We were all shown these ways of doing. We were all indoctrinated in this way of thinking. Now we realize we were wrong. What can we do about it? So it's like make the change within yourself first.
Exactly.
We can rage against the machine all day, but if we don't rage against, fixing ourselves first, it does you no good. And I
Yeah.
think that's where a lot of people make the mistake is they take that warrior energy, like you said, and they'll get on Facebook or social media and they'll start tweeting everything, trying to prove their point instead of just working on themselves and showing how they are the example and showing others how it can be done through just working on themselves versus
Exactly.
telling everybody you're wrong. And then you look like the crazy tinfoil hat person that just gets shut
Exactly.
down immediately.
Exactly. Exactly. It's and I feel like for some of us it's phases that we have to kind of almost go through to be able to see the coding that we're holding, which is,
Mhm.
I've really garnered through reflection this concept of the guardian codes that we hold, and it's like part of, you can almost feel even how that evolution happened of, the us, with our lineage, the Norse and, that whole ancient Albion region of the Celts. And, that if you just really expand this into a global perspective, like how even in our world, it's like we took this huge dump into like warrior meant protection. Then it meant, we had to protect and war because there was war. So there, and then there's softening. And you can almost see how those layers unfold, because that's like, I have felt that even in my own life, is how that has unfolded, the anger, the rage, the working through each of those
Yeah.
layers. It's very interesting, and I know, my brother and I have talked about this because obviously that's our lineage. And so we carry a lot of that, why, and we want to, why do, and it's just that you want to grab your sword. I remember one day, many years ago, I was sitting by a stream and I was just in tears. And I was like, why would you put some of us here in this where it feels like nothing can ever change, that kind of feeling? And I heard, now is not the time for the sword. The sword looks very different today, and it looks a lot like this, which is a pen. So the image of a pen came into my view, and I was like, okay, yeah, yeah. And then it started to move into this complete internal remembering of the only way that we bring coherence into this very dissonant world is we become coherent. We
Mm.
become that beacon by literally living and breathing it every single day, every second of every single day. And we never waver from that path. It's what in the ancient texts, the initiates,
Mhm.
that was the path that we had to walk in this it's a tightrope, definitely, indeed, not to fall into extremes, because there's so much of that today. I mean, it's more extreme than ever before. And so that internal balance is really, that is, it's like that whole, the chain, you can't control your external world. It's all from within. It's like when that finally clicks of what that means, you're like, oh, yeah, I get this now. I get it. Being that ripple effect in the world, in the grid of the earth, in the, into all things. That's really powerful. That's a powerful vision to receive too.
Yeah, we same kind of principle in my lineage where it's the healing you do on yourself affects 7 generations behind and 7 generations ahead. It's like you said, that ripple effect. It's
Mm.
you got to start with yourself first. You can't fix everybody. You need to start with yourself and then hope that you become that example that other people want to follow. You
Yeah.
can't force anyone down the same path as you because it just might not be what they're here to do. They might not be here to experience that. And if you can just focus on yourself, focus on what you need, and then maybe your immediate family, like if you have small kids, help them, make sure they're okay. Maybe your spouse comes along the journey, maybe they don't. But as long as you're focused on yourself, the rest usually starts to ripple out. And it's something I've even seen in my own work where I focused on myself. And it's like, all right, now the immediate family. Now it's relatives who had no interest in anything I was doing before. Like, oh, what is this that you're doing? And it's like, all right, let me tell you about it. Not
Yeah.
forcing them or not telling them what they're doing is wrong. Not even saying that the whole system's corrupt to come kill you. Just this is what I'm doing and this is what I believe and this is why. And
Mm-hmm.
then slowly over time, people are like, oh, okay, you know, do you think we could work together? Do you think you can help me with this? What do you think? My doctor said this. And then it's like, all right, well, here's some things you can try. See what works for you, see what resonates, see what sticks.
Yeah.
But you just can't come from a place of this stuff's going to kill you. You're wrong. Da 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 da. You have to do it this way. That doesn't. We see that today in all the politics that's going on. That just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have have to just lead by example and have that
Yeah.
conversation from a place of compassion, not anger and not trying to get results out of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it's a hard lesson because it's kind of like I remember when I was really young, I was like, it's like I felt like I was watching a train wreck happening
Mhm.
over and 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 over, and that's it. It's difficult to see and to feel things that others may not see and
Yeah.
feel. But then once you get through that stage of seeing, then you begin to realize how like you just said, it doesn't work any other way than just by being in the vibration in which you hope to see more in the world. But these sound like such simple spiritual things, and it's like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's hard too, though. It's simple, but it's hard because especially when
Exactly.
it's people you care about, right? It's
Exactly. Yeah.
like I know how to, you have that idea and you're like, this will fix all of your problems. You keep
Yeah.
doing the same thing over and over. This will make you feel better. This will get you off all this medication. These things will help you. But it just becomes an argument because they're in that system where they're indoctrinated. So it's all you can do is just try to support, but it's hard when you see them and it's like just
Yeah.
doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not perfect either. By a long shot. I still have my own work that I'm doing. I still have my own things that when the patterns repeat, I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Well, and that's why I think the working with flowers has been so powerful for me is because I see how that imprint works in everything. We say layers of the onion, but layers of the flower even, and how, that juicy sweet spot that bees just love is really right there in the core. And so when we know our core, when we can actually feel that and anchor like that nerve, like the nervous system just goes, and you feel that peace, it's like, yes, more of that for everyone on this planet. But it's like we always have to come back to it because every day we get pulled out of it. Every
Mhm.
day. I mean, we're all trying, we have beautiful work to do in the world, but we also have to get paid for it. We
Mhm.
have to do this, so we're always getting pulled out of our natural state of being. If I had my druthers, what I would do is I would literally sit on the earth, be surrounded by flowers. I would talk to the bees and I'd talk to the trees and talk to the animals all day long, every day, and I would do nothing else. Just to be in that state all times, like, 'cause that's where it feels really good. But that's not possible today.
Mhm.
So we have to always be in this uncomfortable zone of gotta go do that video, gotta go do that, gotta make this content, and it's just this period of time in which we are in where we can't be quiet
Mhm.
because to be quiet is actually not honoring the reality of where we're at, and it doesn't really help anything anymore. Maybe there was a time cycle where being in a cave, for monks, shamans, etc., was beneficial for that moment. We're not in that moment anymore from many, many, many received visions for many years. And, at some points in time thinking, oh, but come on. This would be so much easier if we could just be in like a temple in a cave and just like meditate all day. It would be so cool. But yeah, sometimes a hard realization.
Yeah, but then that's also, I guess, to some degree, hiding from life too, because that's what we're
It
here to
is.
experience. And it's as fun as that
Exactly.
would be uh, to be able to always be in that moment. I also, at least for me personally, I would find after a while, I'd be like, all right, I need a challenge. I need something else to do.
Sure.
I need to get out there and see what I can do because it's just
Exactly.
If we're just stuck in bliss all day, then it's, I don't know.
It's
To me,
really
that would
not
be,
living.
yeah, it'd be boring to
It's
me.
not. Yeah, it would definitely get there, I'm sure.
It's
It's
like,
just interesting that feeling that you're always like, man, this feels good,
yeah.
you know.
It's like my son who's like, I want my birthday every day. And it's like, you get bored, man. Like,
Yeah, the birthday would become literally nothing at that
yeah.
point.
It's like after a week, you'd be like, again.
Like Groundhog Day, right?
Yeah, it just wouldn't be exciting anymore. It's
Exactly.
those, but it's building and working towards those moments where that does happen, where you're like, all right, yeah, I'm back. And then
Yeah,
it's like, all right, now I'm back in the rut of day to day and trying to build myself back up to get there. Um,
exactly.
I guess one thing I didn't ask is because you mentioned in the beginning, you started your quest. What exactly was your quest and why did you start your quest to go down this path?
Mm. Yes, well, it was really interesting. When I was, let's see, about a decade ago, I was in my 30s, mid 30s, and I had been in corporate for about 17 years. And, did the whole San Francisco, New York City, that kind of life and, traveling and whatever. And I realized how, you know, it was like I was living this dual life, this life where I was the soul, and then this life that I was like that soul trying to mesh in a corporate
Hmm.
world, which was extremely toxic. I mean, the word toxic doesn't really even get to the guts of the truth of that, but it works. Very toxic. And so I realized how much of the magic I had felt my whole life very attuned into this. That's why everything I do is called awakening magic, because it's this harmonic magic. It's this natural, innate beauty that is really within all things and within ourselves. And how far away I always had to get every time I stepped through those doors into those places. And I was like, this is not working. So we need to figure out another path here. It worked for the bank account, but it didn't work for my wealth
Hmm.
state of being, the true state of wealth. And so it was around 2016 when I had had visions and dreams leading up to that point. And it was literally, my stream of consciousness coming in and like, all right, are you ready? Because we're at that point where you can keep going down this path, but basically all the codes and all the things that you're holding is going to go away because it cannot be that energy can't be abused in that dissonant environment. And are you ready to step on this path? And of course, I said yes to the path for me and that quest that has was unfolding in within me. And so I woke, basically I went to this, I'll never forget it because I went to this little conference thingy. And then that Monday I went in and was like, I'm out. I quit. I left that big fat paycheck, which was nice, not going to lie, and just was like, I'm out. Now, lucky for me, I was in an industry, I was in marketing and stuff. So, I took a lot of amazing skills with me. I took a client with me. So I didn't start out completely in like, what am I going to do now? So it was a little different, but it was that same time that I was taken into deep initiation. So I had to claw my way out of, all these things hit almost like immediately. The fatigue, it was like I hit a brick wall and everything had just like caught up with me and like entered in my body. It's like, okay, you got to find your way out of this because that's the framework you're going to build, by the way. Of course, then I didn't know that, I was like, what is going on? I thought this is what I'm supposed to do. But I realized it was the beauty of that initiation and that walk that I had to walk for. I mean, it's been a decade since that first, WTF moment to, now getting here. And I know exactly what it was for. And so knowing that beauty actually really helped be able to years ago begin the actual steps to get out. Instead of going to external guides and such, I kept having to come back to my own and then say, okay, now I have to go get this certification. Okay, now I have to go to get this degree. Okay, now I have to, and then bringing that all together, all the puzzle pieces, and bringing it into what I am unfolding now, which I'm sure is hardly over. It's just the beginning, but it was being able to see why
Mhm.
at all levels, why. And that was really powerful because everything that I share with others, I facilitate in, I have done. And I was the guinea pig first. So that's powerful too, because I realized, nope, that was wrong. I got to do it this way.
Mhm.
Oh, nope, that doesn't work. Got to do this. So it's like everything that we create in this way, right? It just becomes our own because that is just what's supposed to be birthed through our specific, unique lens of seeing and climbing and questing. So that's my favorite word, by the way, is quest. So
No, that makes sense. And
anyone
yeah, it's
listening.
the, and I say this with other people too. It's like whatever your trauma or obstacle, the thing that you're working on yourself to heal and overcome, that becomes your medicine. That
Hmm.
becomes the thing that you can bring out to other people. When I work with
Exactly.
people on my level or I'm teaching people and it's like, they're like, well, I don't know which way to take my business. I'm like, well, look at all the healing you've just done on yourself. Look at your recovery. Look at everything that you worked on. Are you the type of client that you would want to help? Do you want to help other people who have the same issue that you just had and have overcome? Or do you want to do something different? Like what is, and usually not say 99.9, it's always whatever they just went through because they
Mm,
understand it better, and they want to bring that medicine out to help others. It
exactly.
just makes the most sense.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's definitely like when you're in the said thing or things, it's hard to see it in that light in the beginning because,
Mhm.
and someone can tell you, and you're like, I know, but then it's like, but you're not like, if you don't feel
Yeah.
it, if you, they, if the said, human doesn't feel that, doesn't matter what anyone else is saying. So it is working through those to things to get to that place, be like, okay, yeah, I see those stepping stones now. I get it. So it's just that unveiling, and that's what's so powerful about this framework is it has nothing really to do with going and getting something. It's more so here's a framework that allows you to do it in your own path. So
Mhm.
it's like aligning someone's own path or an animal's own path. Because when you have the strength, when you have the purified fields and energies and physicalities, everything is experienced very differently. It doesn't feel so heavy. It doesn't feel so gargantuan of a task. It doesn't feel so stressful. And really getting emotionally intelligent, if we will, being able to see what is mine and what is somebody else's, or what is grief versus some other kind of emotion, and allowing ourselves to really revel in the truth that we need to feel all those things, but we should be riding those waves, not being drowned, not drowning in those waves, energy and motion, right? So just learning these little things can be extremely powerful because it helps us ride our own wave as we're supposed to be riding it rather than someone else's something putting that into our life and trying to do that for ourselves when it's like that isn't our true essence,
Mhm.
our true spirit. So yeah.
And with, I guess with that, if you're okay with sharing this, obviously we want to keep confidentiality and stuff, but I guess, do you have any like good stories of working with clients who have gone down this path and where they were before and where they were now? Obviously, without sharing too much personal information. I don't want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
call anybody out if it's
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. 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 I have this beautiful soul that I've been working with, and it's in that spirit of coming in with so much that feeling of cloudiness, complete cloudiness, feeling all these essences of the same, of lineage coming through, of, a really heavy heart, like can't, just doesn't understand why the heart is always so heavy. And again, it's like this, this feeling of so much weight constantly. And when we started working, bringing clarity in just through seeing into the living field of what's in her field, what's in that field that is potential, what needs to be seen.
Mm.
And moments of events that have caused really grand dusty shelves that have gotten into the physical layer, gotten into the pericardium, into the heart space, filling that space, such weight, such heaviness, just dampening all these other elements in the life. Lack, not the sleep is not great at all, doesn't feel restorative. And, time with children and family doesn't feel great, because it's like when you don't feel good, feel heavy, how can the rest of this feel okay? It's like how many times can you fake a really good day? Especially if you have kids, you have to be like
Yeah.
gung ho, like what do you do? So, long story short, coming on the other side of things now, where we're getting those things clear, working with essences, working with the minerals, working with things that really strengthen the body, now going through some purification phases, the heart is no longer heavy. The clarity of lineage coming through, and lineage meaning codes of frequency for that said human and what is carried in her living light field. All of these, the strength coming back, sleep coming back. Those are not things that are tiny little things.
Yeah.
Those little things are the things that thereby affect all other things. And so just having that in place has changed everything, because now you can, if we will, get into other levels of being when your nervous system is beginning to say, oh, all right, you're okay. I now am learning how to rest and, really anchor and feel what that means in the system. And, one of the biggest things that was so helpful were the minerals. And, that it doesn't take a lot it's just stopping things that are hindering processes and starting things on that level, and starting things that actually add value, and
Mm.
not, taking tons of supplements, but vital minerals that we should be getting in our food. So that story is really beautiful, because it's like, even in, sessions, you can feel like when you can read that field is so much lighter, and it's just like the breath comes easier. And that's another thing, breath work, integrating all these little things that matter and bring true change, even if it's like, it seems so small, but it's those small things that I think are often forgotten, because they really, really, sleep matters.
And I guess I'm trying to think of the best way to word this, because I want to make sure people understand that it is a process. There is no quick fix when it comes to healing. It's not take a mineral and 2 days later you're going to feel better, versus the pharmaceutical, you take a pill and the pain might go away instantly within like 30 minutes to an hour. So when you're working with people, especially nowadays, because I've been through my own path. My wife is working with actually minerals and stuff right now, because we're finding she's deficient in some areas where her mood's becoming better now because of minerals. So I'm totally on board with the right mineral plan. When you work with people, how long does it usually take for the minerals? And again, I know it's dependent on the person, how
Sure.
depleted they are, and all that good stuff. But just so people understand, if they want to start going down these paths, to set expectations, how long would you say it takes before people start seeing some results when it comes to mineralization?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and like you said, it does definitely matter because there's a lot of stops that often have to happen.
Mhm.
So synthetic forms of supplements like D's and B's and such, and I give all the reasoning as to here's why, and studies that were repressed,
Mhm.
suppressed. And just enlightening in that way of like, oh, this is not new wisdom, by the way. This is not my wisdom. This is a lineage of wisdom, a frequency, a code that's coming through to be shared again because of the state of the world. So a lot of this stuff was very present in our society 150 years ago even, but it takes at least a few months to even regain some kind of, when depending on how much is needed to stop before the starting, if we
Mhm.
will. The coherent water is a huge foundational aspect, which is not just drinking more water. It's literally structured, mineral rich water, because our cells are not nourished in water, and that is the most important thing in the world, in all the world. So no less than a few months once things have begun. And then from there, it can take, again, depending. I mean, it can take, I think it takes a full year
Okay.
to really feel awesome. Again, depending on how many things have been done that need to be stopped. Because that's the other thing, I think a lot of this world has taught, just stop doing all those things and start doing all these things.
Yep.
But we have to be very careful. Like, I would never tell someone to purify their body until they have at least 3 months of strengthening that have taken place. Because I was the guinea pig. I did a week fast of just water and I gained weight because my body was so stressed out. It was not the right time. And those that was working with at that time just didn't realize dimensionality, didn't realize that a depleted body cannot purify. It needs to be strengthened before so there's, again, we work with this approach. And that's why it takes so long, is because you
Mhm.
do this and then you stop. Then you do this and then you stop. So with each level, you're waiting a couple weeks for integration. You're waiting, then you do this, then you do this. And some of this stuff, is as simple as realizing that what we nourish our body with from the food perspective is a vibration. Food equals frequency, but also remembering that if the soil doesn't have it, we don't get it.
Yep.
And so there are some things that we have to take until this soil is completely regenerated on this planet. There's other things you don't have to take for long. So, it's that mix and match too of like what body needs what, coming off of things that people want to come off of, pharmaceutical, synthetic wise. Never just stopping something, realizing there's a mix and match even in that, and how you have to like weave things to be very careful. Things like that are really important because, yeah, we, like you said, this world is living on a now timeline. Like, now, I want it now. I want to do that now. I want to be there now, and that is just not only can our bodies not work that way, it just doesn't work that way, because
Yep.
that is when we create the Herxheimer reaction, which really is just a healing, like, quote unquote, crisis, where we go, we're trying to detox too fast and our body can't catch up. We're just like, so being very gentle, bringing that true vibrational medicine back that is gentle and kind, sacred,
Mhm.
loving, rather than, I think the biggest thing is, we're not in a battle. We're not in a battle. We're not in a battle for our health. That's not how this is work. This doesn't work this way, and just by letting go of fear mongering, I mean, that alone just, you know, notches down the nervous system to be able to relax.
Yeah, there's so much stuff out there already that's just driving the nervous system crazy. It's, again, social media, the news, then it's worrying about what we're eating. Maybe you're the single parent with three kids at home, working three jobs, already feeling bad that you're not home to take care of the kids. Everyone's in this survival mode already.
Yeah,
And then now it's like, oh, and now I have to worry about what I'm eating or drinking because this is a whole other issue that I'm now discovering. And it's like, you're just
exactly.
driving nuts. And
Yeah.
it's, and I guess a good example you could give or I'll give is, we're talking about the soil. It's even our own farm soil has gotten so depleted of the
Mm,
nutrients and the minerals that we need that a lot of the plants that we're growing don't have the right minerals and nutrients that they
you
need.
don't.
And we've been synthetically putting our own supplements into the soil with
Yep.
chemical sprays and everything to try to give better growth, chemical fertilizers instead of
Hmm.
natural fertilization. And we're already supplementing our own crops basically with
Hmm.
nutrients because we've
Exactly.
stripped the soil so much, and our water system is just, I have well water, but even that's not 100% great anymore. It's city water is a whole nother.
Mm, yeah.
I wouldn't
Hmm.
drink that with a 10-foot pool. We were just in Florida on a vacation, and it was like, oh, we're going to do bottled water. It's not the best, but it's better than what's coming out of the tap. We had to make those choices.
I know. Right.
And I guess with water, you mentioned improving the water. What's a way somebody could improve their water at home to
Mm,
make sure it has more mineralizations or nutrients?
yeah. I always share, there is complexity in everything, meaning we can make it as complex as we really desire. These days, we have a really amazing system that we have well water now too, but we plug it in, and we can get this beautifully coherent, amazing, structured, mineral rich water that's been put through all these different tanks of things. And, it's frigging an amazing contraption. But if somebody doesn't have, couple grand or whatever, 1,500, I don't even really remember, to put into something like that, there's an easier way to do this. And honestly, purified water, starting with that, as great as one can get, which does mean something better than like a Brita filter,
Mhm.
for example. It has to, what we really need to, I mean, you can get really sciencey on this and go down to micron levels, blah, 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 blah. But honestly, we just need to think about things like take out all the microplastics if you're on tap, if and God only knows what else, we don't really want to think about it, fluoride, etc. So a good purifier can be purchased for not tons of money. And I have lots of sources to share on many researches that have happened over many years, to see what's coming out on the market, because they are getting better and they're getting more affordable,
Mhm.
in that way. So one does not have to go buy the most expensive purifier thinking that's going to be the best, because the next steps are even more important, which is, after you purify, you want to structure the water. So structuring the water to make it mirror and match what happens in natural spring water as it meanders through the mountains and the stones and the mosses and gathering all these beautiful nutrients as it goes. So we need to recreate that in as much as that we can. And there's devices that can do that. Mayu, Mayu, has a gorgeous carafe that it vortexes your water for you. And it's actually like mesmerizing to watch. So it's beautiful. And so it vortexes your water, but you can even manually vortex your water. So there's a very specific thing that I've learned through my lineage, which is, you stir the water 33 times clockwise and then 12 in the reverse. And that can be structure your water. So you can structure it that way even. And you can bless your water, not, blessing some other being, but blessing the water. Like, I love you. Thank you. Blessing purity into the water helps structure it while you're stirring, for example. But the Mayu device, for example, they have wands even that do it. There's all kinds of cool stuff nowadays to help you structure. And then the third step is remineralization. So trace minerals, and there's, good and bad if we brands out there, because if we look at the quality of said trace minerals, that's super vital. And one that I adore because it's ancient primal sea water, which is pure and as organic as we can get today, pulled from like the depths of oceans that isn't touched and marred like the rest of it. They're called Algae minerals, trace minerals. And those are beautiful. But there's other trace minerals that brands have. Just always want to check the quality of the said ingredients and to make sure they have actual trace minerals. And just by doing that, I mean, I could go on and on and on about the vibration of what crystallization in water means for us. But this isn't just about our bodies. Our animals need it badly because their bodies are no different than ours. Mammals is really what I'm speaking to here, but all beings need at least good water, So those are some easy ways to even just do it at home. And I'll tell you what, the biggest, most amazing thing that's ever happened, I'll never forget when we got that device years ago. And I remember plugging it in, seeing the water coming out, and I was like, that water is alive. Like, it is living water. It bounces, it dances, it sparkles. It looked like DNA coming out of the tap. I was like, it was magical. And then you taste it and you're like, wow, this is thick. Like it sits on your tongue differently. And, my husband and I will go out somewhere, which is rare because where? And here's your water, and they'd sit it on the table. I can't even smell it. The wafts of, chlorine and all the other, it's amazing after you've been off of bad water, how you can't even be like almost in the same room with it. That kind of a feeling. I tried to take a sip of something the other day. I literally lifted it to my nose. I'm like, yeah, nope, I can't do it. So we are those people who bring our water everywhere. Yep. No, it's okay. I'm on water. We're those people, but I don't care because it's so good, and again, if that's this other thing of like the money thing, yes, all of these things, they cost something to do, but it's also, what I constantly think about is this is the investment into our well-being that needs to happen, because it's going to cost you a whole hell of a lot more later without these things being, it's like true preventative wellness rather than reactive. So
it's an upfront cost versus that long-term repeatable cost that's going to come in the future.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. And, not being trapped in that supplement industry stuff either, because that's like a whole other episode of conversation. But, that's another thing that it's like just seeing where there's rigidity and seeing where, our body produces a lot of things and it's supposed to produce a lot of things, i.e. melatonin. So we don't take the very thing that our body needs to create. We actually go to the root to create the thing that our body is supposed to be creating in the body naturally, organically, because then it doesn't cause other ripple effects of issues later. So thinking about those kinds of things is also part of this as well.
Nice. And before we start wrapping it up, because I know you have a time thing too, with I guess, is there any advice you would give somebody just starting out? Anything, I don't know, maybe they're listening to this, stuff is resonating. We talked briefly about water, but is there like another low-hanging fruit somebody could just start with just to see how it works for them before they really start digging deeper down the rabbit hole,
Yeah,
if you
because
will.
once you go down the rabbit hole,
It's a whole different world.
yeah, you don't unsee what you see. But yes, beside water would be like numero uno for sure. But another aspect is the flower essences, I would say. The reason why I say that is because flower essences help that astral emotional layer without anything else working awesomely. Meaning, if there's other things happening, flower essences work regardless. So they can really bring wisdom into the field as one begins. And then you add the water thing, and it's like, okay, now you have two really amazing things going on. And on the flower essence side, obviously, getting custom blends is beautiful. That's something that I do for folks, but obviously there's beautiful makers of flower essences. So finding something that resonates with you. But the customized element is really, again, that perfect thing that you need in the right now, because you're capturing the essence of what you're feeling right now. Which can be obviously really powerful, to begin to dust off those layers a little bit, and which does bring clarity. It does bring a level of clarity, because it's interesting because they're so soft and so gentle, and it is like being whispered to, that if you have a thing that you're kind of feeling stuck in, or not even really consciously realizing it, you'll realize that if you using them for at least 21 days is, there's a reason why that is always mentioned as a thing. It's like, I could go into a whole thing, but at least 21 days, what begins to happen is you begin to realize that, let's say you take it for a couple of months, and then the thing that you used to feel, you're like, oh, yeah, I don't feel that. I'm good. It's like magic. And it is. It feels like it, because you realize, and these are those subtle nuances in keeping little journals, which is extremely powerful, because you start to realize, wow, I don't feel that thing at all anymore. It is literally gone. So, those two things I think would be where I would say to begin.
Nice.
Yeah.
And with that, and I'll put all this other stuff in the show notes too, but where can people find you if they want to reach out to you and work with you, or just learn more?
Yeah, awakeningmagic.com. And I spell magic with a K.
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I'll make sure all that's in the show note. But I really appreciate you coming on. This was fun. I enjoyed
Yeah, same. Thank you.
talking about it. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if something our guests shared resonated with you, connect out to them. That's what these stories are here for. And if you're looking for deeper healing or support, you can always find me at pnwshamanichealing.com. See you in the next episode.